Welcome back to America Decides. What we're about to talk about next may sound dense, highly procedural, way deep in the weeds of the Democratic National Committee, and it is all of those things, but that doesn't mean it's not important. It's an insight into the kind of internal conversations within the Democratic National Committee, which will inform the kind of decisions it makes going forward. So what are we talking about? Well, the DNC is in the initial process of revising or revisiting elections of two vice chairs. One of them is David Hogg, the other is Malcolm Kenyatta. Now, this matter is connected to a complaint about the way the procedures underlying those two elections was conducted. But Hogg is claiming that almost all of this is due to his plans to use a substantial amount of money in a super PAC to primary what he calls asleep at the wheel House Democrats. Hogg put out a statement that read in part, "It is impossible to ignore the broader context of my work to reform the party, which loomed large over this vote." Well, for a very sharp perspective on this, because he's very much involved and implicated, Pennsylvania State Congressman and Vice Chair of the Democratic National Committee, Malcolm Kenyatta, joins me now. Malcolm, it's great to have you at the table. Thanks so much for coming in. When I said you're implicated, your election as Vice Chair is also thrown into somewhat of we don't know because of this challenge. Hogg says it's all about trying to knock him out and his efforts to reform the party, and he's kind of a victim in all this, or implies that. I know you have some thoughts on that. Please share them with me.
So first of all, I'm happy to be with you, but with you on the silliest of topics. I know that there are folks at home right now who are asking, genuinely asking, down the street from where we are, Republicans are cutting Medicare, Medicaid, are putting us in a position where the modern day social safety net is going to be shredded, all so that they can make room to fund tax breaks for billionaires and millionaires across this country. That's what we should be talking about. But if we are going to talk about internal Democratic Party nonsense, we have to at least do it honestly. And the problem I have, and I talked about it online, and we'll talk about it in some detail today, is that David has such a casual relationship with the truth. He understands, like I understand, that this complaint about the procedural mechanisms of the election was filed back in February. The only reason it's being heard now is because of the due process standards that we have within the Democratic Party, where the person who filed the complaint gets an opportunity to put forward evidence, to put forward her claim. We then get 30 days to respond to her. Then there has to have a meeting set up. And so when I saw David's statement aligning this with this myth that he has been the target of, some Democratic Party smear campaign against him, it really frustrated me. And I was in a position where, as much as I don't want to feed into Democrat versus Democrat, nonsense when we have very serious things happening in the country, I cannot allow him to continue to go out and say things that he knows not to be the truth. And so to put out a statement like the one he put out, when he received information about this challenge well before he made any announcement about Leaders We Deserve, is to say to all these people who are listening to him and looking to him to be a voice of honesty in this moment, people have to question that. He's not telling the truth, and I'm going to be here today, unfortunately, to correct that record.
How do you evaluate David's sentiment that he should use money, and it's within his right to use money from donors to target what he calls asleep at the wheel House Democrats, meaning those who are not as engaged in the fight along some of the lines you just referred to as they should be?
Listen, the Democratic Party needs to change in a big way. That's why I ran, okay? I did not run because I thought everything was going great. I ran because I thought that there were big things that we have to change. But I think for the Democratic Party to change and to be a party that is strong enough to meet this moment, the way we accomplish that is not by 9 people who are elected to lead the DNC trying to dictate the outcomes of our primaries. The way we build a strong Democratic Party that can meet this moment is by doing the unglamorous work that I've been doing now for over 100 days, making sure we have the technological and the human talent to power a DNC that can reach voters wherever they are. And it also means we have to unify our party. Obviously, we're not there right now. Unfortunately, that's why we're having this conversation. And the noise of the internal bickering among Democrats has become so loud that we are not listening to the American people. I've been across this country listening to the American people, and this is what they want us to do. They want us to talk about what I think is the unifying message of the Democratic Party. They want us to talk about how we're going to make their life better. When people ask, what are the Democrats about, Major, you can say you heard from the vice chair of the DNC. Democrats are about 3 words: make life better for Americans. Donald Trump has spent 104 days making life worse, making life better for himself and for billionaires, but not making life better for the mom who's being squeezed and not even able to really sit with her kids because she's working that extra shift. They haven't been making life better for workers who want to be able to join a union. That's why Democrats are fighting for the PRO Act, fighting to raise the minimum wage. Democrats want to make life better by defending Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, expanding it to cover things like dental. That is what we should be talking about. And for the last couple of weeks, David has not been coming on these programs talking about that. He's been coming on these programs to talk about David. And as unfortunate as it is, because when I got elected and he got elected, I was looking forward to having another young person who wanted to be in the trenches doing the work of this party. But I want to be clear, reforming the Democratic Party does not mean spending every single day doing interviews saying Democrats suck. There is a limit to how being self-deprecating is going to move us in the direction that we need to go. Our chair, Ken Martin, put forward the most ambitious reform package that we have seen in Democratic Party history. A part of that reform package included the neutrality pledge that I know David has spoken about. David sat in a meeting with me where Ken laid out that vision well before David ever said he was going to do whatever he's doing with Leaders We Deserve. And he even took that reform package, which is the most dynamic, bold reforms we've ever had in the Democratic Party, and even made that about himself. So we're in a position right now where we need to keep the main thing, as the coach of the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles say. And the main thing is working people are getting screwed over by Republicans right now, and Democrats want to make people's lives better.
Bottom line, is the DNC better with or without David Hogg as vice chair?
The bottom line is this. The Credentials Committee said they want a new election. I just put out a letter to the chair asking him to expedite those new elections. I look forward to new elections and to taking my vision of what I've done for 100 days and taking it everywhere.
If David is reelected, you're good with that?
Listen, my hope is this, that the same people who brought David onto their programs to hear from him will actually bring me onto their programs to hear from me and hear the actual work that's being done. If David wants to join me in that work, I look forward to having him.
David's been on this program, and now so have you.
There we go.
Malcolm Kenyatta, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.